The Broken Earth Trilogy is a fantasy sci-fi series written by NK Jemisin. The series won many awards including the Hugos. In fact, all 3 books won the Hugo Award for Best Novel, making her the only author to have ever achieved that feat. The books explore a number of themes and really add that extra something that is missing in the genre. The Stillness is a continent on a far future Earth, which regularly experiences large-scale seismic and volcanic events. These recurring apocalyptic events are called the seasons. The aftermath of the seasons lasts for generations and reshape the world that its inhabitants live in. The people who live there know this and spend most of their lives preparing and trying to survive the unpredictability of the land they live on. The ones who survive live in combs. Combs are different communities that the inhabitants form as they try to wait out the destruction. They gather what's left of themselves and rebuild civilization before the next event. Every comb has people from various castes who play specific roles within each comb during a season. Within this society are people called origines. They have the ability to stop or trigger earthquakes by using their capabilities to manipulate thermokinetic and other forms of energy to direct seismic events. They alone can control the seismic and volcanic events that threaten the stillness. Though they are needed, the origines are viewed with dislike and distrust. Origines are also referred to in a derogatory manner as ragas, and are seen as less than human. They are often hunted down throughout the stillness. Those that aren't killed are enslaved by the Fulcrum. The Fulcrum is an institute that raises origines and teaches them to control their powers. They also find and recruit wild origines who are seen as a threat to their own combs. At the Fulcrum there are guardians. These are the people who watch over the origines. They guide them and train them. The series centers on the story of Esun, a village school teacher who has been hiding her identity as an origine. The first book is called The Fifth Season. It begins with the shattering of 2 worlds. First, Esun's husband discovers that their children are origines. He kills the youngest and kidnaps their daughter Nasun. Second, the stillness experiences an earthquake so powerful that it triggers the worst season the planet has ever experienced. In this book, we see the world of the stillness through Esun's journey to find her daughter. Esun isn't your stereotypical fantasy character. She's a powerful middle-aged woman of color, a mother struggling with grief, a survivor of trauma who is also a mass murderer. Though other characters' stories are narrated through conventional first or third-person points of view, Jemisin tells Esun's story in second person, eventually revealing that she is being told her own history by someone else. In Book 2, The Obelisk Gate, Jemisin introduces us to Nasun, Esun's 8-year-old daughter, who is on the road with her father as he searches for a way to cure his daughter of her origin. We are with her as she struggles to understand the adults who are supposed to take care of her, a mother who trains her to survive but who can't seem to express love, a father whose affection is wholly dependent on her becoming something she can't be, and a guardian who gives her the comfort her parents are unable to give her. One of the biggest things that stood out to me about the trilogy is the way the books explore the fragile dynamics between parents and children, how the pressure to keep her children alive in a world hostile to their existence drives Esun, and how Nasun experiences that pressure as a child. In the trilogy's final book, The Stone Sky, both mother and daughter realize that they can use their origin to end the suffering, although in very different ways. Esun wants to save the world, while Nasun only wants to end it. This causes another conflict in their fragile relationship, which was so heartbreaking to see, knowing the 2 characters' motivations. In The Broken Earth, Jemisin wrote a multiracial world with a marginalized front and center. There is no ambiguity about the race or appearance of the characters in the books, something I truly appreciated. I grew up reading fiction written by people from Western countries, and even though I was from a largely monolithic country with people of color, I rarely envisioned the characters to look like me. They were usually Caucasian. In these books, Jemisin describes the appearance of each character, that if younger me read them back then, especially Alabaster's description, I would know how he looked like immediately. I think this is one of the books I connected to so fast because of this, which made the grim and bleakness all the more affecting for me. This series covers a lot of important and relevant themes like identity, systematic and individual oppression, survival, trauma, feminism, parent-child dynamics, race, gender, sexuality, ecology, and so many others. So much about the trilogy is social commentary and real-life issues, and this makes it so important to the genre. I found a blog post which I really enjoyed, which goes and does a proper analysis of the themes of the trilogy. One of the gems from the post summarizes just how huge of an impact the books hold. In it, the author says, Jemisin has crystallized the sorrow of loss and the rage of the exploited into a staggeringly complex story of human weakness and courage. The desire to subjugate and the opposing desire to be free. Although these books are not set in our world as we know it, the pain boiling in them is the same pain of our earth crying out against its tormentors, and the pain of those who have been robbed of their personhood, their status as humans, feared, hated, abused, raped, killed, and erased from history. But Jemisin believes that history can be recovered, and the world can be reclaimed. The world can end many times and start again. Honestly, this blog post was so well written. I will leave a link to it down below. I highly recommend the Broken Earth Trilogy, especially if you want a change of pace in your speculative fiction. The series is packed with a lot that I haven't gotten into, for fear of being too spoilery.
For some of us, things have always been hard, and I wrote the Broken Earth Trilogy to speak to that struggle and what it takes to live, let alone thrive, in a world that seems determined to break you. A world of people who constantly question your competence, your relevance, your very existence. I get a lot of questions about where the themes of the Broken Earth Trilogy come from. I think it's pretty obvious that I'm drawing on the human history of structural oppression, as well as my feelings about this moment in American history. What may be less obvious, though, is how much of the story derives from my feelings about science fiction and fantasy. Then again, science fiction and fantasy are microcosms of the wider world, in no way rarefied from the world's pettiness or prejudice. But another thing that I tried to touch on with the Broken Earth Trilogy is that life in a hard world is never just the struggle. Life is family, blood, and found. Life is those allies who prove themselves worthy by actions and not just talk. Life means celebrating every victory, no matter how small.
If you liked this video, please consider leaving a like or commenting. I'd actually really like to know what you thought of the trilogy if you read it, or if this gave you the push to read them. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.